Hey JB, how are you doing?
Hi Hannah, I'm doing great. How you doing?
Good, yeah, I'm all right, thank you. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk to the
It's all
Me
right.
Project. So we're on our topic of ordinary wisdom and
Mm-hmm.
self-esteem. And JB,
Mm-hmm.
what does having value look like to you?
What does have value look like to me? Um, Having value to me, do you mean in terms of like monetary wealth or in terms of self-worth? Because I would say that
Self-worth.
your self-worth is just as important as any like material, if not more, way more important than material
Mm,
possessions.
yeah.
So if you have things, then you'll lose that. But building up yourself is massively important. Um, Mostly just because then it's going to affect things like how you progress in life, how you
Mm,
react to situations,
mm,
how you develop in your career, in your school, in your home life.
mm,
So having yourself be a self-esteem is so important,
mm.
because you can't compare it to having additional things, because
Yeah,
that's not important.
yeah.
Especially if you talk to quite a lot of the top millionaires or billionaires, they'll say, I've been bankrupt a few times, but what got me through was my attitude and the way that I reacted to this situation. And they wouldn't have been able to do that if they hadn't had a little bit of the self-esteem saying, you know what, you can keep going, you can keep doing this, you can keep
Yeah,
pressing for your goal. That's
yeah,
really important. At
yeah.
least for them, that was important to press for that goal.
Absolutely, that's so good. So you mentioned about the billionaires and the importance of having
Mhm.
self-worth.
Yeah.
What do you think it looks like in a day-to-day context? What's the difference between having solid self-esteem and then somebody who maybe has low self-esteem?
So self-esteem is a funny one because it can show itself in like a few ways.
Mm,
Either you can be quite shy and withdrawn, and then you can go to the other spectrum where you're overboard in showing yourself to others. Basically,
mm,
it's, or at least the way I see it, it would be like, an example is your average kind of school bully. Quite a lot,
mm,
quite often, I would just say that the reason why they're doing that is because there's an insecurity there. There's a deep-seated insecurity within themselves. And because they've got this insecurity, they got people around them, they care
mm,
about the opinion of others,
mm,
and for whatever reason, the people who they surround themselves are impressed with the fact that they are seeming to be very confident.
mm,
However, the way that they're displaying this so-called confidence is in the bullying scenario. So you can
mm,
have that, or you can have the, like I said, the other end of the spectrum where you're very withdrawn, you're very shy. No, I'm not going to participate in this. Or no, I'm not, because you don't feel, a big word here, adequate.
mm,
I don't like, the biggest fear is that they're not adequate for things.
mm,
So even going back to the scenario of the bullies, they
mm,
don't feel like they're adequate to handle certain situations, so they need to make themselves feel bigger than they are, because
mm,
then they feel in themselves that I
mm,
can't actually handle school, or I can't actually handle work,
mm,
or so it's playing on that word of inadequacy, both with
mm.
a withdrawn person and with someone who's very out of
Yeah,
themselves,
yeah,
making themselves known, showing themselves off to others, saying,
yeah,
"Hey, look at me."
mm,
Um,
yeah.
there's quite a public figure at the moment, not trying not to go too political, but they're always being like, "Hey, look at me. Um, I'm doing great. I'm amazing."
Mm,
I think that's probably stems from insecurity.
mm. Interesting. Yeah. JB, you mentioned that word adequacy.
Mhm.
If somebody was like, I don't know what that is, how would you define adequacy?
So adequacy is whether you are up to a certain task, a certain situation, whether
Hmm.
you're you have the ability to do something. If you don't
Yeah.
believe you're a bit able to do something, then quite often you don't even try. Quite a lot of musicians, they'll tell you that they've started at a young age, but there'll be adults who go, you know what, I never learned an instrument. And you go, why do you not learn an instrument? And they go, because I sound terrible. And they don't recognize that they're going to be a learner for a while. They don't realize that the 6-year-old who they go to their, I don't know, their nephews or their nieces, you know, recital, that they've been, that it starts with very off notes, very off timing, tempo,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
And people, especially adults, when it comes to that particular scenario, that example is they don't allow themselves the freedom to be inadequate, to not be able to do something.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to make a decision and allow yourself to do something that you're not going to be good at, that
Yeah.
you are not able to do at the moment and are inadequate at,
Yeah.
then you'll allow yourself to go, you know what, I'm at stage 1. That's fine that my notes are off, that let's say I'm playing the violin, that it sounds
Yeah.
awful, it sounds like
Yeah.
a screeching cat. But in 10 years, if they keep up that practice, then it's going to sound beautiful, absolutely
Yeah.
harmonious.
Yeah.
So inadequacy, sorry, going back to your previous,
No, it's
your
good.
actual question, is the ability to do something you don't feel that
Yeah.
you are able to, whether that's mentally, physically, or
Yeah.
emotionally,
Yeah.
or even spiritually, if you want to take it to there.
Yeah.
You're not able to do something. But
Yeah.
quite often, once we try and we give ourselves a little bit of time,
Yeah.
we really are.
We will get there. I love what you said about giving yourself the opportunity to fail in that process of learning, and that it is that journey forward. It seems to, that word has come up quite a lot in the different interviews that we've done, but it's so true. So JB, what helped you personally? What was a kind of a key thing for you to realize that self-worth?
So like I've just said about the inadequacy, one of my favorite poems, I can't remember who it's by off the top of my head, but the beginning, it starts, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure.
Wow.
And that really hit a chord with me. So a little bit of my story for those people who don't know. Quite a few years ago, I hit a real low point, and I had a bit of a breaking point in my life, and from that, I had the biggest insecurities in the world, to the point where I had a complete breakdown, and a complete like crisis of identity, and with that comes massive insecurities, and in that also was not being able to make decisions because of that, because of those insecurities. So when you have that situation, when you've got so much insecurity and no decisions, I used to just sit in my room just going, I don't know what to do, because I didn't know whether the things that I liked were actually things that I liked. I didn't know whether I was actually any good at any of the things that I thought that I liked, and whether I wanted to try anything else. But what I did, because of that situation, I made one decision, and that was really important. One decision, that I would allow myself the freedom to try things, allow myself the freedom to fail, which is really, really, really important for me personally. You fail 100 more times than you'll pass anything. So for me, I went and I did things that I didn't know whether I would like or whether I'd be any good at it. And I based what I was trying on not whether I was any good at it, but whether I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So I did various things. I spent probably more money on just trying random things that I thought I might like. So I went to things like some taekwondo classes. Didn't really like them. Like I felt like I was sore at the end of them. I was like, okay, maybe that's
Fair
not
enough.
for me. But
Yeah.
I recognized afterwards, I evaluated it and I said, you know, it's fine. I tried
Mm,
something, I didn't like it, or I did like it, I enjoyed it. And then I found things that I really did like. So
mm,
I got to know myself quite well. And with that, because I allowed myself the freedom to fail,
mm.
my security started going up. My
Wow.
self security within myself went up so high
Yeah.
very quickly because I was trying things quite often, trying new things, saying and allowing myself not to get discouraged by the fact
Mm,
that I might not have enjoyed something.
yeah.
So I spent a good amount of money going on a bartender course.
Yeah.
Have I actually used that since? No, but it's actually, I found out that it was something that I enjoyed just
Yeah.
as a hobby rather
Yeah.
than a career path.
Yeah.
Um, and it's quite nice because then occasionally someone will be like, oh, can you throw a couple of drinks together? I'll be like, yeah, sure. I
Yeah.
now have that skill. I now have that knowledge. When I started, I had my first drink probably like 2 years earlier
Mm,
than that. I knew nothing about alcohol,
mm-hmm.
and now I've got this qualification in it. So
Mm,
allowing yourself the freedom to do that is massive.
yeah.
I'm not sure whether I've actually answered your
No, you
question.
really have. You really have. And I love how you said as well, the freedom to explore things, and it doesn't necessarily need to go anywhere. It's not kind
Yeah.
of, oh, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to be this. But actually, I tried that. It was fun for what I did at the time, and then I move on. That's so good. So for people, JB, if you were talking to somebody, one of the people watching this who are maybe thinking that they really relate to that idea of when you said you're just sitting in your room and you were going, I don't know, I just don't know. You said about that top tip of giving yourself the freedom to just try things. I mean, that obviously comes to the context of looking after your health and your body
Yeah.
and so on.
Mhm.
But what would be a top tip aside from that for somebody with low self-esteem?
Apart from making a decision.
Apart from making a decision.
Okay.
So top
I
one,
would
making a decision. What would be your
I would
number
have
two?
said, yeah, that's the first thing.
Yeah.
Make a decision to just to try,
Yeah.
to allow yourself the freedom to fail.
Yeah.
Um, for me, it was very important that I recognized that I am and always will be a
Mm.
learner.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so there's I love movies, and I know it's childish, but I really like animated movies,
Yeah.
and the Kung Fu Pandas. You can put them on at any point.
They're timeless.
And I think it's in the third one
Yeah.
that one of the masters he says there is always something to learn, even
Mm.
for a master.
So
And
good.
I think that's really important. I think allow yourself the freedom to make decisions, to try things, and recognize that you'll always be a leader.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of people with the self-esteem is they because they have low self-esteem, is they think why, and they'll think that they're not happy because
Mm.
of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this again is just my personal thing,
Yeah.
that my personal belief, but um, I don't believe that happiness should be the goal.
Interesting.
I
Okay.
think that contentment should be the goal,
Mm. Okay.
because then you're able a bit more freely to be sad when you're allowed to be sad, or angry when you're allowed to be angry, and then
Yeah.
happy and enjoy the ecstasy of the moment, and then take note of it and recognize it.
So being reflective in what you're doing, but also
Yeah.
the difference between contentment and happiness being happiness is you're always like, yeah, everything's wonderful, whereas
Yeah.
contentment is I have a range of emotions and a
Yeah.
range of experiences and a range of responses to those experiences, but I
Yeah.
can sit in each one of them and that be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So one of the things for me while I was going through this period in my life was I needed to allow myself to emotionally work some things out. And being in a state of contentment allowed me to do that a lot more easily. And people think of anger or fear or sadness as bad emotions. I would disagree with that from my personal experience, and I would say they're not bad emotions, but the decisions that we make whilst in them often are.
Okay, so
Uh,
seeing them but doing it anyway, or where would we go with that?
so I'm not sure I gather your
So
meaning.
you were saying sometimes the decisions when we have those emotions of anger or fear or whatever
Yeah,
aren't always positive, so kind of recognizing the emotion, not trying to stuff it down or not trying to ignore
yeah,
it, seeing it, but
yeah.
also not letting that stop you from
Mhm.
different things, but also not necessarily push you into certain things either.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Is allowing yourself to say, "All right, I am feeling angry at this moment,"
Yeah,
but not throwing the nearest lamp at your cat.
absolutely.
But sitting there going, "I am angry. I am allowed to be angry,"
Yeah,
and then once it's cooled off, going, "Okay, how can I deal with this emotion a different way?"
yeah,
Or just even allow yourself to write it out, like screaming into a pillow or something like
yeah, yeah.
that. But I needed to allow myself to have the allow myself to get to the range. And the reason why I said I think contentment is important rather than happiness
Mm-hmm.
is because people's, and going back to self-esteem, people's self-esteem is often because they go, why am I not happy? Because they believe that happiness is a place that they're going to get to.
Yeah,
So then they go, oh, it's like this island over here, that's happiness, and I'm on my journey to it. And once
yeah.
I'm there, I will then be happy forever.
And it's all okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like the end of a classic Disney movie,
Yeah.
the
All lived
princess,
happily ever after.
and it's happily ever after, and then they
Yeah.
stay in that place,
Yeah.
which is not reality, and that's not how emotions work.
Yeah.
Um, and so people then start asking themselves internally, because of their self-esteem, am I not good enough? Am I not
Mm,
smart enough? Am I not trying hard enough?
yeah.
Am I? And then they feel again inadequate
Yeah.
because they think, oh, I'm not happy, therefore there must be something wrong with me.
Yeah. 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 Wow. Wow. Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
So good. I mean, there's just so many things to take from that. So knowing
Mhm.
that you are adequate, um, not stopping uh, because you failed at something, giving yourself the chance to
Yeah.
fail, always being a learner,
Mhm.
and to prioritize contentment over happiness, and knowing happiness is not a destination, but something that
Mhm.
you'll kind of
Yeah.
pit stop at regularly here and there as you go through life.
Mhm.
Amazing.
Mhm.
JB, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for
Okay.
sharing your wisdom. Have a great rest of the day. Take care.
You too. Thank you.